So when it comes to running staff appraisals, I believe these can be a really useful tool for the growth of your colleagues and for your team. Now, as always, I'm just speaking from my experience and dealing with many individuals in terms of colleagues and staff members that I've run appraisals for, being on the receiving end of appraisals a few times, although I haven't worked for many people, but also having mentors as well that have given me advice on this area. So like I say, I believe staff appraisals can be a really good way to help progress your team and your colleagues. And I'll explain to you how I run that process. So the first thing I do is have a self-appraisal document that the person being appraised would complete in advance of the meeting. So not only will I complete an appraisal of their performance, but I'll ask them to do that themselves. And it's a really good opportunity, I think, for them to be reflective, self-reflective on how they've performed, what's gone well, what would they like to improve upon, and what are their next steps, what's the growth they want to achieve. So that's the first thing, is to actually get the individual themselves to do a self-appraisal in advance. Then, of course, you'll do your appraisal your end, and then what that meeting then becomes, it doesn't become a one person talking to the other. It becomes a discussion and a conversation, because you invite the person being appraised to say, okay, can you talk me and walk me through the self-appraisal, go through the points. And what you'll often find is, and this is where I like it quite a lot, is that actually those two things match up very closely. So the person who's been reflective on their own performance, as well as you appraising them, when you look at the two sort of forms or the bits of information you input into that appraisal, actually they marry up very closely. And I think that's a bit of reassurance for the individual as well. And also, if there are any criticisms, and there may well be, particularly if you're trying to help someone improve, it softens it a little bit in the fact that they might have identified that themselves, and they'll sort of you'll get it in the meeting. They're nodding and saying, "Yeah, no, I appreciate that." Whereas if it was just you appraising them and talking at them, and you come up with that criticism, they might not take it so well. So that's where that works quite well. That self-appraisal thing. The other reason I quite like them as well is that I think it helps set like the targets and the goals. What are they trying to achieve? Because for me, if someone who comes and works for me, I take that responsibility very seriously. But things change in the world, and people are going to move on from time to time. So if they have come and started working with me and then they leave in a better position, I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest, particularly if they've added value to the business during that period and our clients. But so having the appraisals is an opportunity to review their progress and sit down and say, where are we compared to where we spoke last time? Where do you want to get to? And what do we need to do to get there? And I run appraisals in the early stages. I run them monthly, but then I do move to a quarterly situation. And the other thing about appraisals is that you shouldn't be, like I say, particularly if you're running it quarterly, or even people do it, longer than that, or maybe never even run staff appraisals, is that that isn't the only time you'll be talking with this colleague. So make it clear to them that, you may just have a weekly catch up, or you may just have an ad hoc conversation about something that's come up about their progress, or an opportunity for training or something like that. So making it very clear and open to your colleague that, it's not just we're going to sit down and wait at this end of the quarter to discuss your progress. Feel free to come to us in the interim, but it is just a good opportunity to have some focused time where you're not getting distracted from anything else, with that person one-on-one, and go through their progress. So I'm a big proponent of staff appraisals. I know there's been lots said on it and lots of different ways of doing it, but I think getting them to complete a self appraisal in advance, and making it more of a two-way conversation, and also ensuring that they realise that it's not just a case of you can only come to me about these things in the appraisal and let things build up that maybe need to be discussed in advance, that you can still have those ad hoc conversations, and we'll give them the time they need for them.